Welcome to the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast with your hosts, Mike Randall and Gus Kearns.
All right, welcome in, listeners, to the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast. You could have been anywhere else on the dial, but you chose to be here with us, Mike and Gus. We are always talking college hoops. And Mike, I guess I have to ask, is this thing on? Does this still work? Are we okay? Is this broadcasting?
You're damn right it's okay. And it is an honor always, my friend, to be back with you. College hoops is tipping off tomorrow, which by the time you hear this will be today. In fact, it'll be today in about an hour. And I can't think of a better way to kick it off. What a crappy year it's been. I mean, let's just call it like it is. 2020, no one is singing a song like 1989 with Prince. No one's singing 2020, okay? So, and maybe Rage Against the Machine will. But thrilled to be back, really happy, can't wait. College hoops. Million games canceled, but there are games being played. So the glass, my friend, is half full, right?
I think it's like 75%.
75, yeah.
Yeah, with like what games can be happening. So I think our season starts like kind of today. I think we're ready for this. Let's do our best for the listeners that are out there to get their brains ready for the first few days of things that we want to call college basketball. I think we can call it college basketball. Is that cool? All right, Mike, I guess, do you want to start with the ugly? Do we want to start with just like, real life stuff?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, let's get this out of the way first for the listeners, right? We have, Syracuse head coach Jim Boeheim, Baylor head coach Scott Drew, Tennessee head coach Barnes, Auburn self-imposing. Like there's a bunch of ugliness and real life things that are in the way of the game. So, Mike, what is your... Not necessarily what is your take, but what is your stance? How do you feel? What influences is having on you for the start of the college basketball season?
Do you remember after I was coaching a high school game, probably one of the biggest ones we had when I was coaching the team, and you came up, all our friends came up, and we went and played laser tag after. And you and I actually got put by some teenage kid in a holding cell because we ended up being too aggressive in laser tag. Okay, we need the laser tag mindset for this, right? We love college hoops. We love all the great things that we like to do in life, and we feel like they've been limited. The only way I know how to deal with this, man, is we're just going to keep fighting. We're going to keep shooting lasers. We're going to eventually get through this. I do feel, not to get scientific, because you guys know I am not a scientist, nor do I play one on this podcast. I do believe that the world will be much better once we get through the winter. I think that we are in the home stretch. We've been through March, April, May, the summer, September, but we haven't been through the winter yet. So once we get through the winter, we will be better. All of this stuff, everyone testing positive, just shows we have to be really careful in what we do. Wash hands, masks, gloves, whatever it takes. And I'll do whatever it takes. You want me to put on scuba diving uniform, Gus, to watch basketball in my house? I will do it because I need college hoops, because I need to see Self get destroyed by Gonzaga, which is going to happen, by the way.
I can't wait for that game. That game is going to be fantastic. Scuba gear.
Oh, they have Mitch Lightfoot. Don't worry about it. Okay. Azubuike ain't walking through that door. Jackson ain't walking through that door. Okay, babe.
Oh, man. Azubuike ain't walking through that door.
That'd be a big door, too.
But yeah, very, very wide, also very lengthy. Yes. I mean, his it's amazing. And did you see his vertical? Vertical draft combine. What is going on?
And he may not be walking through the door, Gus, and neither is Silvio De Souza, but we can get to some other time. Sorry. We're back, baby. We're back. It's great.
All right, there we go. All right, let's talk about what might actually happen on Wednesday. This is very exciting. Mike, it's time to play two games you love the line on. I know that, for the Action Network, and if you're not already, please give Mike a follow over at Randall Rant, and all of his work can be found on the Action Network. So, Mike, over at Action Network, what are a couple games that you guys have taken a look at? Maybe you and Stuckey have traded a couple texts on. What do you got cooking?
Oh, it's great stuff, man. And what Demon Grass, did the write-up. What we do, I have here, Gus, you can hear papers. And if you think I'm doing this fake, guys, then I really have less of a life than you realize. So there's a big color-coded spreadsheet here, Gus. And what we do is we sign up for games, okay? So sure enough, thank you, COVID, the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, I had the Tennessee-Charlotte game written up from so many aspects. You have no idea. Because right now I have Tennessee in the Final Four. But I grabbed the games that we're looking at tomorrow: Memphis, St. Mary's, Liberty, Purdue. By the way, get your popcorn ready for that one.
Definitely.
Villanova, BC. That's the one I wrote up. UCLA, San Diego State. So I also grabbed, by the way, because you grabbed them right away, I did grab Kansas, Gonzaga. So that's why I keep referencing that game. But no, a lot of fun stuff coming up. The two games I'm really looking forward tomorrow that I'm excited about. First one, like I said, is BC Nova. It opened at 15, BC plus 15. And Gus, I will tell you, as a BC alum, my first reaction was to hit Nova. Okay,
right,
okay.
Right, of course. I think your first reaction automatically has to be that, right?
But then when you write the article, right, you have to write it so that you have to build towards your argument. You can't wax how great Villanova is and pick BC or vice versa. So I'm breaking down the numbers, I'm doing the stats, and I'm like, oh, Winston Tabbs is back. That was 13.6 per game as a freshman. He missed last year. They got Jay Heath. Boy, he had some big games against Virginia. And I start looking at it, and I go, that's way too many points. That's what I ended up saying. No Cosby Roundtree tomorrow. No Brian Antoine. I know Gillespie. I know plays the sax. Okay, I get it. But so the first one I'm looking at, the two for I like. I really love BC and the points. I think it's going to be Mohegan Sun. I don't think Nova's going to run away and hide. BC has a really good backcourt. Tabbs could be one of the better players on the floor. Let's not go crazy.
Okay.
Robinson Earl is great. We know that. Villanova is great. Absolutely. But I still can get a backdoor cover, Gus, can't I? I mean, like they can lose by 12 or 11. And so I'm taking BC in the points. Really like it. That's the first one I'm listening to. Let me get your thoughts.
Okay, so the first thing I would jump on right away is like I think the automatic take there is like, oh, Villanova is going to be one of our top three teams this
Yes.
Like, they're going to beat everybody 20. Okay, let me just grab this. Okay, let's.
Yes.
However, if you pay closer attention, like you did, you know that Villanova does not play this up and down pace that maybe, let's say, a Gonzaga plays.
Right.
You have multiple possessions, and their pace of play is going to be through the roof. Like they actually value possessions and will just get the best offensive set and opportunity that they can out of those offensive possessions. And they've lived off of that, one of those offensive sets being like multiple 3-point shots. Because of that lack of pace of play, I think the BC play is kind of smart here. And can you say like, they're going to win by 13? I think that makes sense. I think that sounds just kind of about right. And I think that a bunch of people, quote unquote, the public, will be on Villanova. Because you have Baylor, Villanova, UVA, Gonzaga inside this top four, and everybody has like that same team, that same framework inside their top four as far as preseason goes. And you're just going to say like, okay, it's a top four preseason team. I'm going to think that they're going by 20. Maybe not.
And that's my point. And Nova's had some trouble. Some of the big teams have trouble early in the season. BC actually forced 14.5 turnovers per game last year, which was 65th in the country. So the man-to-man defense for Jim Kristen, not terrible. I just cannot see, Gus, in the range of outcomes, Villanova coming out and Samuels, everybody's banging threes and this being a 30-point win. I can't see it. Not on Mohegan Sun. I can't. So go with it. I'm taking the points. I could lose it. I get it. I think it's too many. I also recommend the live line, Gus, in the first half. Let's say Tabbs hits a couple threes,
right?
And you can get Villanova -6. Okay. They're not losing this game. Let's not go crazy. Okay. But I do think that Boston College can keep it close. So my heart, my head, whatever you want to say, we are BC. We are going to lose by 13. That's more than fine.
That's the battle cry, right? We are 13. Right. That's a little battle cry. All right. The one game that, you can go to your next game in a second. The one game I was kind of paying attention to, and I think you might have put this in the show notes, is that Liberty-Purdue game, isn't it?
Yes.
Right? Isn't that one that you kind of want to pay attention to? And you think Liberty, like, oh, man, are they going to be that good? I mean, they lost Caleb. He was there for 4 years. He was one of those players that you just trusted, like kind of an offensive machine inside that particular conference and inside that program. But I'll tell you right now, they have a defensive identity that is similar to UVA. They are coming off of the best run in program history. And I'll tell you right now, Kyle Rode, he was a freshman last year. I think he has an opportunity to be the best player on the floor, minus Trevion Williams, of course, for this game, and they have a guard in McGee that is kind of a physical freak in the best way, who owns a plus 44-inch vertical leap. And by the way, he's got the green light from 3. So they have 2 players that are going to be really interesting that maybe Purdue doesn't really have a match for. And if you're going to give us 11 points there, I think that sounds okay.
That's a great synopsis right there. Rode is the freshman who looks like he's 40, right? I brought that up last year. Remember that? Yeah. I'm going to bet this live on the pod right now. I got Liberty Purdue. Over under is 124. Okay. 124 and a half. Excuse me. I'm taking it right now. I think Liberty's defense, I know Purdue can shoot it. Stefanovic, that's good. But in this situation, no Eric Hunter, broke his leg in the preseason. Liberty's certainly going to play and control pace. Travion Williams is just a man. I've loved him last year. Thank God we got rid and sent Matt Harms all the way out to BYU. I mean, for real. But I'm with you. I think it's a great game. It's a neutral site game, but it's in Florida. By the way, I can get 9 on this game. Thank you very much. But I like the under, and I like Liberty in the points. Again.
P.S. Liberty is bringing in their highest recruiting class in program history this year after their success the past couple of years. I kind of like that game. What's the other game that you're kind of paying attention to?
Well, a couple games that I was curious about. Listen, I'm very high. Sorry, I'm taking Liberty plus 10.5 also. Sorry. I got 10.5 on the books. Okay, 2 games I love to watch. NC A&T versus number 8 Illinois. Now, I'm a big Illinois guy. And North Carolina A&T, the Aggies, they were second in the MEAC. That's not the MAC, okay? Jay Joyner, remember the head coach, they got off to a bad start. He was suspended for a personal issue, which we never heard about, which, by the way, means it has to be bad. Right. And, it wasn't like, buying a kid a Pepsi or something on the table. And Will Jones took over. They went 14-5. Jones takes over the team, and as we used to say, because I'm showing my age here, Gus, Santa Monica Track Club is in session, okay? The MEAC always plays fast, but NCAA, they go faster. Jones actually got Coach of the Year. They're flying up and down. They finished second in the conference. He was an interim, not anymore. Joyner's gone now. He resigned. Fantastic job. I don't know who gets Coach of the Year as an interim, but Will Jones, great job. Cam Langley, MEAC preseason player of the year. Gus led the country in assists per game last year. The entire country, 8 per game. So they're going to end up playing Illinois. This line is climbing to like 29.5 right now. It's very frisky. It is a clash of styles because Underwood slows it down with Illinois. Very deliberate, okay? But in the first 2 games last year, Illinois, Nicholls State and OT. Now, listen, Nicholls State was good. Okay, so that's not to put down Nicholls State. They beat Pitt away. They hung with LSU and Rhodey. And Grand Canyon, they won by a combined 20 points. So they could get out of the gate slow. Aggies are going to be ready to fly up and down the court. So it's a game you take a look at. I just like the contrast in styles. I love the small schools, and I love Illinois. Coburn, IO, technology. I mean, come on. I think Illinois is going to be one of my teams I really like. So that's another one I'm looking at.
Okay, I'm with you on the teams you really like. Illinois, I have them inside my preseason top 10. But I think if you're going to pay attention to pace of play, you mentioned they play super fast. The Aggies were a top 10 adjusted offensive tempo team via Ken Pom. So I think if you're going to bet on them putting the ball in the basket, I think that's a safe bet. And yes, we did discuss, during the offseason and back and forth that Illinois is kind of revamped under Coach Underwood. They also will do a few pack line principles on defense sure. and value possessions as opposed to running up and down like he did with that Oklahoma State team. So if you're going to value those possessions and you're going to play a team that's going to try to push it, I think that number seems a little high. I'm kind of with you on that.
That's a little high. I mean, they go by 25. They're home. I get it, but you never know. Sometimes you brought this up to me. I remember a few years ago we talked about it. Some of these big teams at home, they got a frisky team that comes in there. No one's going to be in the stands. So home court advantage is out the window. I don't know. I like the early season unders on neutral courts, and I love the points. But I don't know what I'll take here, but I really would like to watch it, which was the question that you asked.
I think that's the situation. I wouldn't mind watching that either. I think the next place we'll go is how about 2 players? Are there 2 players a couple players that you want the listeners to really pay attention to that have kind of caught your ear/eye that you're looking forward to actually viewing, whether it be on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or sometime during Thanksgiving weekend. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. I hope everybody stays safe and sound and is calm. That's for sure.
Yeah, same. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Just to give thanks for what we have right now. Players I like, Gus. I'm fascinated with Cade Cunningham. I mean, anytime a Frosh doesn't go to Duke or doesn't go to Gonzaga or doesn't go to, one of your powerhouse teams, Villanova, I'm always curious. Oak State's a lot of fun to watch. Great place to play. A dynamic freshman. I'm curious there. Old school, sort of veteran guy for me. Remy Martin at Arizona State. I mean, he's been on the Joey Brown plan. We said that back in the 80s with Georgetown. I mean, it's not like he's been there for 5 million years. I mean, Remy Martin never been a shot he didn't like. Okay, so he makes it a lot of fun. Last year I bet on him and against him, and I think he burned me twice. But yeah, Remy Martin's fun. And another one, Gus. Lunch pail guy. We like the under the radar. You've been big on him as well. How about Trace Jackson Davis out in Indiana? 6'9" soft. Came back. I believe in Archie. We like Archie, Dayton, the whole thing, the Elite Eight. I think he's got a big year coming. I want to see it happen for him. Jackson Davis, I was very impressed when I watched him. I went against them a couple times, and I'm like, boy, he's a pain in the rear. Fundamentally sound. Old Rick Majerus used to say economy of motion, soft touch around the basket. There's a couple guys that jump out at me that I'm really excited about this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everybody wants to kind of see what kind of player he is and how he translates to the college game with some structure and just not on the AAU grassroots circuit. So you're intrigued to see that, if nothing else. Of course, Remy, I think you have to include him somewhere on your All-America teams. If you're starting an All-America team, I have him on a third-team All-America. And then I have Trace Jackson Davis in the exact same spot. I think he's going to be one of the best players inside the Big Ten, not named Luka Garza or Ayo Dosunmu for that matter. And I could see him being the third best player in that conference and being a third-team All-America. I think that makes sense. A couple guys I got my eyes on. I don't know why you wouldn't want to pay attention to Marcus Zagorowski over at Creighton.
Yeah.
It's coming. I love what he's about to do and love what their program does as far as pace goes. And I think another player we want to pay attention to is James Bouknight from UConn.
Yes,
I think he's going to be a little bit under the radar. And if we just pay attention to the profile of guards inside the Big East and UConn, back to the Big East, welcome home. James Bouknight actually fills that profile of like a Miles Bridges or a Marcus Howard or a Kamar Baldwin, somebody that's going to be a gigantic stud, put up big numbers, make big shots. And that's going to translate to wins, and that's going to translate to March success. So I think that Bouknight at UConn is one of those players we want to keep an eye on as well.
Bouknight, one of those. Every time you say his name, I picture that crossover step back. I mean, maybe that's Kemba, but I always feel like he's making a big shot like that in traffic. Got some playmakers up there. Danny Hurley's got things in the right direction. At some point, they're going to make a big breakthrough. I think they were on the verge. Had a couple bad technicals in overtime that cost them some wins last year. So those are two really good picks.
I think both of those teams, let's cross our fingers on both of those like traditional college basketball programs, whether it be Indiana and UConn, that they're going to find not necessarily prominence, but be a factor, a talking point, and be interesting for this upcoming season, along with everything else. So that wouldn't be the worst thing. I wouldn't be mad at that. All right, Mike, a couple things here. Number one, is there another game or two that you're looking further to down the line, whether it be on a Thursday or Friday over the weekend, or maybe something that's fingers crossed and fingers washed and hands washed, that is a little bit further down the schedule? Do you got one or two games that you think the listeners might want to pay attention to?
Yeah, I mean, the big one is going to be on Gobble Gobble when I'm sitting in my coma there, and I'm going to be watching the Kansas-Gonzaga game. You have been on Gonzaga since we started this whole podcast, and initially I was the foil on them and said they don't play anyone, but then they made the final game and pretty much stuck it to me. Then, of course, I jumped off and took St. Mary's, and they, whatever. This is a soap opera for another podcast, but
right.
I think Mark Few is loaded. I think he's got perfect balance. I think he's got transfers. Nembhard today is eligible. Oh, dear Lord, like they needed that. I think Gonzaga is going to pound Kansas in Florida. I think Kansas is very good defensively. I think that Garrett and Abaji will do a nice job. I don't think they're going to find shot makers. I don't think Bryce Thompson is ready to step in against the number one team in the country and start pumping in points. I don't think we're going to have that. Even Josh Jackson took a little bit of time when he was a freshman. I think this is a bad matchup. I'm really looking forward to it. I think the defense will rule. And then in the second half, Ayayi's out. Kispert will even make some shots for me. Maybe Tilly will come back to the game. I can't. It's going to be Gonzaga. It's Gonzaga's season. Kudos to Mark Few. Tough schedule last year. What they have, Gus? Tennessee, UNC last year. I mean, that's a murderer's row. This team is so damn good. And listen, Self will get together. He always does. But this ain't the right matchup because you got to find scoring against Gonzaga. Oh, by the way, they just scored again. So I'm really looking forward to that game.
Yeah, just my 2 cents on that game, too. I'm with you. The one thing that we need to pay attention with Kansas, they traditionally have had this like trusted guard in the backcourt that Coach Self could turn the offense over to, whether it be Devontae Graham, whether it be Devin Dotson. Like, that person doesn't exist. I know you mentioned Garrett and Abaji, and both of those guys are NBA-ish wings with size and talent and length and diversity on the defensive perimeter. But are they that trusted point guard that you can just toss the ball to and then that Kansas offense hums with? I don't think that's the case.
Exactly.
And let's just say, like, okay, well, we don't have that trusted guard. Let's toss it into one of our traditional bigs that we would have, whether it be the Morris twins or Azubuike or, whoever it might be. Now, are we really thinking David McCormick is that guy right now? Maybe, but that's not proven yet. And then I think you're right with Bryce Thompson. Bryce Thompson could end up being, if this season had its full capacity of perhaps 30 games, where he could develop into that type of impact freshman that exists on campus roster seemingly every season. But with the condensed season, which may only contain like a few non-conference games and then maybe your conference season, are we really going to count on him putting it together and being that impact freshman in these games, especially against a team like Gonzaga? I don't think that's the case. And just to go of course we have to talk 2 cents on Gonzaga. If they're going to run out a 5 of Kispert,
it's over.
Timmy, Suggs,
and no good.
Yeah, and then you're going to throw Nimhard in there? Get out of here with that. Like, all of those guys are like borderline NBA players, if not definite NBA players. They have 5 pros, and then there's another pro off the bench in Watson. Like, that's bananas. So I think you're right. I think this Kansas Gonzaga is going to be a little bit of a mismatch, and then that second half, it's going to get a little bit ugly. Yeah,
Kansas, JUCO transfer, Tyon Grant Foster at the 4, really athletic guy, long arms, the whole thing. I get it. Just what I'm saying, Gus, is in a shortened preseason, COVID, the whole thing, you're stepping against Gonzaga? I'm not buying it. Let me ask you a question. What would the line have to be for you to take Kansas?
Oh, man, it'd have to be double digits.
Yeah, I was saying I would think at 8 is when I would be like, this is going to be a backdoor cover, 3 by Braun, I
think it'd have to be double digits to even like consider it, right?
Yeah, my guess is it's going to be 6, and I mean I'm gonna hit it faster than the whammies and press your luck as soon as it comes out. I'm just guessing. I think it's gonna be 6, 7, and I just don't think. I think Gonzaga's here to say, listen, Kansas, D up, somebody will develop. Self always develops them. I get it. McCormick will become Shaq later in the year. Fine, but right now in Florida. On Thursday, see you later.
Listen, the other thing that we want to pay attention to here, too, is this is a huge opportunity for Ayayi, Suggs, and Kispert because they're going to be playing 2, NBA-ish defensive type wings. So, this one game could hold a huge amount of value for their NBA like draft stock, quote unquote, because they're going to be going against, you figure that matchup would actually happen with those the Gonzaga wings and then the Kansas defensive wings. So you want what they can do. I just think that there's too many options on offense for Gonzaga. And we talked about pace before. Gonzaga's going to try to push, and they're going to get a whole bunch of EG touches with Timmy. I think Timmy's going to destroy McCormick. I can see that coming right now. That's the one part of that equation that I'm pretty confident in.
Yeah, I just don't like the spot. I think it'll be close in the first half because I just think teams will feel each other out. But there will be a 3-minute run in the second half where Gonzaga puts this away. then all of a sudden, Garrett's going to be trying to make shots one-on-one. Abaji's going to realize he's Abaji. McCormick's going to get in foul trouble. Here comes Lightfoot. You can just see it's gonna crumble. But really looking forward to, because it's 2 top 5 teams basically. So looking forward to it.
Right. Was there yet another game you had your eyes on, or was that another one that did you have another one like further down the calendar that you were kind of paying attention to?
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that we have these back-to-back games. The other one I am curious about is right now. Is this one still on? Virginia, Florida? Is that still on or is that off? No, I don't even know anymore.
Florida's off. I think Florida's not traveling.
Florida's out travel. Well, I want to see you. I want to see UVA play, because UVA has the best recruiting class they've ever had. Last year was a bit of a down year, but of course that's understandable given 2 years ago the national champion. So I want to see UVA play. I did bang the under already on their first game. Death taxes. Sometimes, Gus, you don't think about this stuff too little. But I did bang the Virginia under right away. Tomorrow they're playing Towson at 1:30. Okay. So I said, let's go and let's see what happens. But I careful with those giving the points, laying the points with UVA. You don't want to do that too much because you never know. But yeah, I'm just curious to see how they are, because Tony Bennett is great. That's why.
When luckily we were fortunate enough to talk to Luke Neer down in Charlottesville on his radio show, and he obviously he's very high on UVA, being from the area. But one of the things that we brought up when we talked about UVA was Sam Hauser. And just how much impact is he going to have on the offensive end? And we've seen, speaking of Gonzaga, the impact of that red shirt season. And I can envision Tony Bennett having a similar type influence on his student athletes during that red shirt season. So I can see Hauser being really impactful, not only on the offensive end where he's going to shoot it and stretch the floor, but also being an integral part of their pack line team defense and not being a liability and knowing the ins and outs of where you need to be on the floor. So I think that redshirt season is really going to benefit him, and I think you're going to see him coming out flying colors. He could be one of those players that makes an All-America team where the numbers don't necessarily wow you.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. And I'm just trying to look at the games that are left here. What else did I sign up for any other ones? Oh, I signed up for Gonzaga Auburn. I signed up for that one.
Auburn character counts. Who knows? Coaching from the parking lot like he was doing that shot.
Yeah, that was funny. That's so funny. He's in the parking lot
from the NBA draft. That was highly entertaining. There's one I'll point out. Okay, you ready? I'm crossing my fingers. This is still going to go on. Scheduled for November 28th over the weekend. We have Little Rock versus Western Kentucky. And you're like,
oh, very nice. Very nice.
Why are we even talking about this game? Here's why we're going to talk about this game. Little Rock brings all 5 starters back. They finished first in the Sun Belt. They have Darrell Walker. For those of us that are of the age, he was one of those players that played on the wing on some of those Bulls teams during the championship run. And they have an unbelievable little jitterbug, Marcus Howell, at point guard. He's going to be player of the year in that conference, or at least in the running for it. He averaged over 17 points a game and over 5 assists a game. And he's going to go against Western Kentucky, who's going to bring back an NBA big in Bassey. They got Hollingsworth on the wing, who averaged almost 17 points a game, and they return 4 starters. So these 2 quote-unquote mid-majors, Little Rock and Western Kentucky, are going to be a pain in the tuchus for anybody that might catch them on the other side of the bracket in March, assuming they might get that automatic invite from their conferences, Conference USA and the Sun Belt. And this game is actually probably going to be pretty big for both of their resumes, considering what everybody's non-conference schedule is going to look like. So I'm kind of looking forward to that as a little bit of an under the radar.
That's a brilliant call. Arkansas Little Rock. Folks, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. That's what you get here. We just don't cover the big teams. Gus, as you were talking, and I was listening, I'm sorry, but I saw an opening for a game that had not been claimed, and I had to grab it. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Sunday, November 29th. Evidently, Baylor at Seton Hall was not claimed, Gus. So we put our little scribble in there. You know what I mean? How are we doing?
I guess the question is Seton Hall still one of the programs that's shut down?
That's a good question. But I don't know. If it happens to go, how can I pass up a chance to talk about Kevin Willard against Baylor?
Well,
Jared Butler?
I mean, and again, then you have to ask, is Seton Hall going to be willing to play that game because of the news with Coach Drew being tested positive for COVID? So I think there's a lot of, I think this is going to be like the script for a number of games, from now until the holidays that, this game looks like a game that we want to pay attention to. Oh, wait a second. Is that shut down? Oh, wait, did they have a positive test? Oh, wait, did that? I think that's going to be how it goes, and people are just going to have to scramble and be really flexible, programs and coaches too. So I think you just illustrated, oh boy, like that looks like a great game on paper. Is that going to really happen though? We'll see.
Whatever it happens, I guess I'll be ready to scribe it. You know what I mean?
I can't wait for you to rip Willard. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Listen, at least we'll have some hoops, people. We'll have some stuff back. I remember was it last year, I think at some point, was it December or something, I went up to my cousin's house, who you know very well. And, they're trying to watch football, and I'm putting on Kentucky-Louisville. I think that was in December. Yeah. And they're like, what are you doing? I said, how are you not watching this game, guys? It's a big game. They go, it's too early. It's too early. Folks, it's never too early. If you listen to this podcast, you agree.
All right, so I think that's the perfect segue for we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and hope that you flip-flop back and forth from your traditional football viewing on Thanksgiving with whatever part of your extended family that you decide to spend Thanksgiving with, and you flip to some of these college hoop games that are going to be taking place during this really odd start to the season. Mike, do you have anything else that you'd like to wish for the listeners out there? Any other little tidbits, or we just anything else that's on your mind, on your Action Network mind?
Life's about the details, folks. Live for the details. Live for the good cup of coffee. Live for the sides on Thanksgiving. I love turkey, don't get me wrong. But give me a little cranberry. Give me a little stuffing. I'll take that down faster than David McCormack's going to have 2 fouls against Gonzaga. Okay? Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Don't forget to put that gravy onto the mashed potatoes.
Yes.
We are glad to be back in your ears, and we hope to catch your ears sometime next week. Thank you for giving us a little part of your Thanksgiving type weekend, and we're thankful for your ears and for your attention. So thank you for sharing some of the college basketball season with us. We totally appreciate it, and we look forward to catching up with you guys before you know it, okay? Cheers, Salancha, Gratulatia, Arigato.
Kisper threes, Virginia unders. Welcome back. I'm addicted to the appetite. It's a seat in the lounge. And it goes